You and I have spent a lot of time around each other, but you can always think of the friend when you're standing up that's going to knee you in the back of the knee, and when you're walking, kick the back of your foot, and your next thing you know, he's like, what just happened? Or do the tap on your shoulder thing. Like, that's the kind of personality that Kendall Wells is. She's just different, and she loves softball. Like, they live, eat, and breathe softball, and they're very competitive, right? If you were to say, Kendall Wells, who would win a one-on-one basketball match against a team? She'd look at you and go, me.
Streaming from Oklahoma's own digital studio, this is OU Update.
All right, hi again, everybody. Toby with you. Welcome to Oklahoma's own sports. We got a special interview for you today. As always, though, please, if you're watching this for the first time, please like and subscribe. That means the world to us. We're getting close to another milestone on subscribers, and we need you to help us get there. You can see him there. Chris Plank is joining us today, the voice of OU softball. It is postseason time for Patty Gasso Sooners. They are the #1 ranked team in America, the back-to-back SEC champs. How you doing, Plank?
I'm good. I'm sorry I did not dress up for the occasion. I keep forgetting that these podcasts have a video element to it. One day I'll figure it out. But we're getting ready to go to Lexington. So it's going to be a fun trip for Sooner softball and what might be maybe one of the more, I guess, impactful SEC tournaments that we're going to see as far as seeding is concerned in a long time.
I want to ask you about the tournament in just a second, but big picture, and then we'll start to maybe narrow this down a little bit. 48-7 season. How would you describe this year for Oklahoma so far?
Well, there's two different factions of the fan base, Toby. There's those who wonder, how in the world can you lose those 7 games? What is wrong with you? Why are you not 55-0 right now? But then there is the logical part that realizes this is a major step up in competition. In 2 years in a row with an incredibly young team, Patty Gasso has gone out and won a championship, and you add everything that this team went through, not having Jen Rocha for the first half of the season, not having, their starting third baseman. And, as time is kind of laid out, the player that's sitting atop their averages, Nellie McEnroe-Marinas got hurt, and she's their leading hitter when she went down, and she was really good defensively. I mean, she played every game. And, we could really get in the weeds on this, and I know we're limited by time, but you add into it that, Nellie allowed them to be a little bit more flexible in what they wanted to do with Sid Barker. Sid Barker was going to be someone that would probably play some first, would probably play some second, would probably play some outfield. Heck, she could probably catch if she wanted to, but she's plugged into that everyday role at third base, so it takes away some of your lineup flexibility. It's just been, they had a lot of things go their way, too. The bounce back for Bella Emmerling has been really cool to watch this year. And obviously, Kendall Wells, I think the last time we were on, we kind of joked about, Kendall Wells breaking the home run record, and she's on the verge of doing it. But it's really been a special season, man. They say, you're really enjoying something when time flies. And I feel like we just started the season.
Yeah.
That's how fun this year has been. How heartbreaking at times, the Coach Rocha stuff was really scary, and really real life, real world stuff. So it was a lot, but it's a lot of fun, and I can't believe that we're leaving to go to Lexington to play in the tournament already. I can't believe that the end of the season is here.
Don't worry about being limited by time. OU softball fans will take all the content they can get, so we're good. You got conference tournament this week in Lexington, and then the NCAA tournament begins. How important do you feel like the conference tournament is and has been to Patty Gasso? Last year, we had the weird circumstance where we shared it, I believe, correct?
Right.
Because of Mother Nature. So does she put a lot of emphasis on conference tournament, or is it more about let's just make sure we're ready to go for the big dance?
I think you hit the latter. I think, listen, they want trophies. They want to win everything, but they want to be playing their best whenever it comes to, that regional and that super regional, then hopefully on to the World Series. So, I'm of the opinion that, Coach Gasso will trade a loss for a lesson. So she doesn't want to lose games, but if a team learns from it and gets better, I think that's something that as a coach she embraces. Like I could go back to this last weekend when we were in College Station. By the way, Toby, do you know they had over 100,000 people at
Saw that.
Kyle Field for the Savannah Bananas.
Savannah Bananas, yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
They had a track and field. I think the track and field tournament's still going on. Like, I don't know the time schedule of a track and field tournament, but it felt like it was going on, or track and field meet, excuse me. It was going on like the entire weekend. But all jokes aside.
They really love how many people they get at events in College Station. They're not too worried about ever actually winning anything. But
Right,
they
they just
love how
wanna go
many people they get there. Yeah.
They had a lot.
Shots fired. Yeah.
But I think as frustrating as that Friday morning quick reboot was from the game that got rain delayed on Thursday night, I think the lessons that they learned about showing up and about, even when it's maybe on short notice or even when you got to deal with a rain delay, you got to bring it. And you saw this team learn that lesson and win games on Saturday in what was a very hostile environment. I could go back to the beginning of the season and tell you that I saw a team that learned from the mistakes they made against Cal State Fullerton and that they made against Cal to turn around and run rule Washington the next day and run rule Duke, two teams that are going to be tournament teams, one that might be a host. So it's a team that I think has learned from its mistakes. So that's a long, winding road to basically say, I think it matters, but it matters even more when you learn from those mistakes that you made. Now, I'll kind of pile one more thing onto this. I think this is a fascinating weekend for seeding. You have so many teams, Oklahoma, Alabama, Tennessee, Texas, Arkansas, that are all vying for a top 8 seed, but you drill a little bit deeper, and in Oklahoma and in Alabama, and I guess you can throw Nebraska in out of the Big Ten, these might be the 3 teams vying for the number 1 overall seed in the tournament. And last year, it went to the SEC championship game. We got rained out. We didn't get to play Texas A&M. But lo and behold, what did Texas A&M get? They got the number 1 overall seed. Now, they lost in the regional and got knocked out in the first round and had a really tough Liberty team there. But regardless, I think
they had a big crowd. I'm sure they had a big crowd.
They had a great crowd, and that's all that mattered. They had a great crowd there at Davis Diamond. Yeah. But I think that this is a very impactful weekend for that number 1 overall seed for Oklahoma or Alabama. And I think there's a really good chance those are the 2 teams that play for the championship come Saturday night.
Sooners play Thursday against either LSU or Georgia. LSU the 8 seed, Georgia is the 9 seed. Let's talk home runs. It has been a historic season, 171, tied with UCLA now. They both have broken the all-time record. You've got the Kendall Wells storyline going alongside. You've called all of it. I just kind of want your perspective on how amazing this team is in that category. On the other hand, it is kind of what everybody talks about this OU team. Is it unfair that home runs is what we know this team for? Do you feel like the storyline is much deeper than that?
Yeah, I absolutely do. But I'll feed the beast here, man. You and I were trading some texts when we were talking about numbers, and I brought up, hey man, UCLA's right on their heels, and I think your response was, why aren't more people talking about it?
Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah, no, a lot of people didn't, and it was because Oklahoma had like a 20 home run lead for the longest time. But listen, I'm not here to get into a Big Ten SEC fight, but what UCLA is facing week in and week out is not the same as what Oklahoma is facing week in and week out. Now, don't get me wrong, that's not to take away from anything that Megan Grant and Jordan Woolery and the rest of that team has done. They can win a national championship. They're very good. But you started looking at UCLA's schedule and you started looking at Oklahoma's schedule, and you're like, they're going to go out to Washington, and you got that thin air out there, and Washington hasn't been as Washington-esque, and maybe there's a chance that they could hit a bunch of bombs there. And I think they hit 10 in the weekend whenever they're at Washington, and next thing Oklahoma's playing Arkansas and Georgia, and you just had this past weekend at A&M. You got Texas in there, so you kind of started looking at the numbers, and you thought, everyone gets caught up in trying to say they're going to hit 200 home runs, but that competition increased big time. And teams, they're pitching around Kendall Wells a little bit. A&M didn't pitch to her too much, and I'm fine with that. Oklahoma didn't pitch to Maya Perez much this weekend for Texas A&M, who's their big home run hitter. I don't think there's any shame in it. It's smart softball. But yeah, the story is the home runs, Toby, because that's what they've been, elite at all season long, right? That's what catches the eyes. And you see the home run record was broke with 20 games to go. The SEC record was basically shattered 2 weeks into the SEC season. The individual record was shattered almost before we got out of the gates in SEC play by Kendall Wells. So, yeah, that's the storyline. That's what people should and want to talk about, and I'm fine with it. But this team defensively is next level. And it is, I think the number I saw was that opponents have only tried to steal like 5 stolen bases on them this season. They've only 5 attempts. And that's a stark contrast from last year. Kendall Wells defensively has just been, man, she's been juice. She has been awesome. And she's got a thing that she does where before the umpire calls a strike, she'll jump up and she'll pump her fist. Now, it cost us because we didn't get the strike call against A&M and it led to their comeback. But, you can miss every now and then. But what Gabby Garcia does at short, the Gold Glover Ailana Agbayani at second, how Sid Barker has acclimated herself to being a third baseman. They could be a little better defensively at first, but they're elite in the outfield. Kai Minor is Jada Coleman 2.0, and she's a natural outfielder. Like Jada had to convert to an outfielder. Kai Minor's been an outfielder her whole life, and she's got a cannon, she's got speed. So I think one thing that people don't talk about enough is how elite they are defensively. And then second has been the steady climb of improvement for their staff. You got an ace in Audrey Lowry. You've seen, Miley Wachenio had a tough outing for 2/3 of an inning. Well, she didn't get credit for an inning, but in that 2/3 and a sixth where it fell apart against A&M, she struggled. But she came back the very next day and dominated. So I think the pitching staff, which everyone kind of throws their hands up if you give up 2 runs in softball and wonder what's wrong. I think to watch the elevation and the improvement of that has been a big, big storyline this year too. But here, going full circle back, man, you're right. It's fine to talk about the home run. You're just missing the full story of this team if that's all you focus on.
I want to take you back to the circle. In postseason, a lot of times, even if you've used 2, 3, 4 pitchers, it becomes one that ends up trying to carry you to a national championship. Is it Audrey Lowry in your mind? Is it Miley Wachenio? Is it truly going to be both of them the whole way?
There has been one, every time I ask Coach about pitching, she's like, we want to use all 6. Now, I don't think that's reality in the postseason, but I think it's going to be a lot of 24. I think it's going to be a lot of Audrey Lowry. She has really shown I always say on the broadcast, dog-like tendencies, because she's a dog, man. She gets out there and she bows up, and she's the kindest, most soft-spoken person you could ever talk to. And she, I've got a daughter that's 17. What's Chloe, 18? And you kind of forget that. Like, this is my daughter. This is a girl that's my daughter's age. And I know how, young and innocent she seems to me. And then all of a sudden she puts that mask on and she gets out there in a circle. And you're like, okay, all right. She's like a mix of Nicole May and Kelly Maxwell, to where it's just, there's not a lot of, what's the best way to put it? Emotions that are outpouring. But when she does, it's, it's big time. Now I'm going to give you 2 names that I think are going to play a major role. Now, we saw Sid Burzon pitch well against A&M. She's going to be a part of this. But I think the 2 freshmen are going to be there in a key moment. Alyssa Parker, the Picola product, she has just been lights out. Now, I think she's an athlete. So she's learning how to be a pitcher. And I know some fans are up in arms. It's like, why aren't we seeing her more? And you kind of maybe got a little bit of a hint of that whenever she gave up, 3 runs late to Texas A&M. She's still learning. But Berkeley Zakay, don't look at the stats, okay? Don't look at the numbers, because you'll be like, you're a crazy person. There's going to be a game in either the Supers or the World Series where Berkeley Zakay is going to come in the game, and the ESPN people are going to be blown away because they're like, well, what's she doing coming in the game? But there's going to be a matchup or 2 or a moment or 2 where she's going to come in a big moment, because she might have the filthiest stuff of anyone on this staff. And it's just been a process for her to, get her confidence and obviously develop more. She's a true pitcher, man. She has control of her stuff, but she's a true freshman. They just haven't used her a lot. So, yeah, it's going to be Audrey Lowry and it's going to be Miley Wachenio. But they're going to use all of them. There's going to be a moment where you're going to look up and be like, hey, she hasn't thrown a lot. There's going to be an inning where Kirsten Deal is going to pitch despite her struggles this year. So, yeah, you'll see Pickens and you'll see Kennedy and you'll see Jordy Fromm, and they'll pitch a lot of innings for their teams, and, Tegan Caban. But when it comes down to it for Oklahoma, Toby, I really, truly think it's going to be a staff effort the whole way.
I'm going to ask you 2 more, and I'm going to ask you the second one first so you can be thinking about it in the back of your brain while you answer the first one. The last question is going to be, give me your 8 for OKC. Okay?
Okay.
You can be thinking about that. Kendall Wells, you've spent a lot of time with her. She burst onto the scene as a star this year. She's going to be, if she isn't already over the next 3 years, going to be the biggest star in college softball. What kind of a young lady is Kendall Wells?
Awesome, goofy, fiery. She's the kind of person, I don't know. I mean, Pop and I spent a lot of time around each other. Toby, you and I have spent a lot of time around each other. But you can always think of the friend when you're standing up that's going to knee you in the back of the knee. And when you're walking, kick the back of your foot. And your next thing you know, he's like, what just happened? Or do the tap on your shoulder thing. Like, that's the kind of personality that Kendall Wells is. She's just different. And she loves softball. Like, they live, eat, and breathe softball. And they're very competitive, right? If you were to say, Kendall Wells, who would win a one-on-one basketball match against a team? She'd look at you and go, me. Hey, Kendall Wells, who's your first pick if you're picking a starting 5 for a basketball team? Is it Alyssa Parker? Is it, I don't know, Nellie? She'd be like, no, it's me. You know, she's got this cool confidence about her. There is going to be people that come after her. I think that's just the reality in this portal world. And you look at big money people like Texas Tech, and you know, they're losing Nyesha Kennedy after this year, and they're going to want to have a star. I don't think she's going to go anywhere, but that's always now in this new world. It's like, man, you know, maybe Tennessee becomes a big spender, maybe, you know, whomever. But I think that if she stays at Oklahoma, assuming she will, and having a lot of confidence she will, I think she's going to set every record. I think she's going to rewrite the record books. And that's saying a lot, because Lauren Chamberlain rewrote the record books. And then we saw Jocelyn Allo rewrite the record books, and we didn't think anyone was going to rewrite it for a while. And now you fast forward, 4 years after Jossie graduated? And someone's going to rewrite the record books, and she's going to do it. And she's probably going to set it at a number where everyone's like, we're never catching that. And then there'll be this girl named Goose Hutchins who's going to come in next year.
Yeah.
We're going to say, she's going to break all the records. You know, Kendall's not just a good hitter. She's a good defensive catcher. I don't know. And again, I'm sorry. You asked me about Kendall. My favorite play from Kendall Wells this year has nothing to do with hitting. It happened on Saturday. And I don't know if you guys saw it.
Yeah.
We were playing Texas A&M, and there was a pop foul. And it was right near the A&M dugout. And she went 100. I mean, it was a little looper. She went 100 miles an hour, dove headfirst, crashed into, she didn't catch it, crashed into the wall. Helmet goes flying, glove goes flying. She's down. And you're like, oh, this is terrible. This is the end of the season. And she gets up on her knees, she walks up, goes to the dugout, gets her hand taped up, right back in the game. And when she gets to the circle, they're all laughing. So, I mean, I talked to Sydney Barker about it on Monday, and Sid's response was, there was a lot going on with that because of the way that she landed. So she's not just a great hitter, Toby. She's a great person. She's a hustler, and she's a great all-around ball player. And I hope people really understand that and see it.
There was a collective gasp you could hear across the entire state of
Oh,
Oklahoma.
my gosh. I
thought she was injured. Yeah.
I thought she was done, but she's tough, man.
All right. Prediction time.
Okay.
I want your 8 for Oklahoma City. This isn't fair because we don't have a bracket, and you could pick teams that end up in the same super or whatever. I'm going to ask for at least one dark horse, okay?
Okay.
You can't just pick the top 8 ranked teams here.
Okay.
Pick
Okay.
8 for OKC, but I need one surprise in there at least.
Okay. Can I give you my surprise right off the top?
Sure. Yeah.
Oklahoma State.
Okay.
I think because what are they, about 14th, 15th right now in the RPI? But Ruby Malin has been on one recently, and my only concern is when things kind of go south for Ruby, it tends to all fall apart. And she has thrown a lot of innings this year. And if you get into that Oklahoma State bullpen, they're in big trouble. But
maybe OU and Texas in the same week a couple weeks ago. So they're dangerous.
And then turned around and lost to Wichita State. Yeah. So, you know, it's just it's weird. But I would say Oklahoma State would be my sleeper.
Okay.
And I don't even know if that's a fair sleeper. They didn't go last year. They've been good. But if I were saying the 8, let's just go ahead and put Oklahoma State in there for argument's sake. Texas Tech, even though I think Tech's going to go on the road for a super regional. I don't know if they're good. They weren't in the top 8 last year, and it didn't matter. But I think they're going to be – it's going to be interesting because I think they're going to be like 9. And so that means you could have like an 8-9 super regional matchup of like a UCLA and Texas Tech, which would be crazy. But I'm not considering that right now. I'm just giving you 8. So I'm going Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, Alabama. I think they're really good. They got good pitching. Man, I like Nebraska this year. I worry a little bit about, that moment where they haven't been there before. Jordy's amazing. She's been there. Boy, how about the job she's done, man? She has rejuvenated that program. And then let's see. I owe you 3 more.
Right.
So I think like a team like Georgia.
Okay.
I think maybe that'd be another surprise. They really impressed me. And, I could see them being in a super regional matchup with an Arkansas. Arkansas is one of the best teams I've seen this year. So I would put Arkansas there at 7.
Okay.
And then I would go ahead and throw UCLA in there at 8. So,
no Texas.
No Texas. I think Texas is going to get knocked out. They're, but then again, Texas roped us last year. Texas got swept by Oklahoma. Should have been run-ruled in one of the games. And then the next thing you know, they beat Oklahoma in the Women's College World Series and go on a run. But I think they're showing a few vulnerabilities right now. But I think I would leave out Texas right now. I'd leave out Texas A&M. I don't think I'd have Tennessee there. But then again, those are 3 teams that it wouldn't surprise me at all if they made a run.
Boy, somebody is showing this video to Mike White right now, and he is calling you all kinds of names.
Well, I think they're good. I think they're really – Katie Stewart hit the longest home run I think I've ever seen in my life to beat Oklahoma. But it won them 1 game in a series they lost at home. So, it's just – there's a few teams that are leaking. They're leaking a little bit heading to the postseason, and Texas is one of them. If they can get it right like they did last year, they're as talented as anyone in the country. I just think it's going to be tough.
He'll be on the call for all of it. The iconic voice of Chris Plank. It starts with the SEC tournament Thursday night. Sooners will get either LSU or Georgia, and then hopefully all the way through Oklahoma City. Chris, thanks so much. Appreciate it. We can't wait to listen to you, bud.
All right, man. Thanks, Toby. Thanks, Pop. Talk to you guys soon.
Thanks for watching this edition of Oklahoma's Own Sports. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for watching this Oklahoma's Own digital studio stream. Stay with News 9, online and on television anytime for the latest news, weather, and sports.